Hi, my name is David Pawlowski. I have a 2023 Fountaine Pajot Elba 45, and it's kept down in St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and it is being chartered with Waypoint Yacht Charters. I grew up sailing up in upstate New York on the Finger Lakes, so I was sailing my whole life. I went to the Naval Academy right here. I sailed all up and down the East Coast and into the Atlantic. This is actually only the second boat I've ever owned. The first one being a Catalina 320, a 32-foot monohull. So yeah, the first catamaran. Initially, we had chartered the Astria 42s, and we really loved those boats. But when it came down to it, there's one reason that we really loved this boat, and we're sitting on it. Right? It was this area right up here, this sun deck. We wanted something that we could be up high, out in the open, and I wanted a little more company. If I was going to be at the helm sailing, to feel that I could be a part of the fun and not always just doing the work for whoever was on the helm. And this boat absolutely has that. So the Elba 45 is absolutely what we were looking for. I've been a sailor my whole life, so I wanted a boat that I felt was a good match between performance and space and comfort. I think the Fountaine Pajots in general are a great fit for that, and this boat specifically for us. The length, the 45 feet, it was a little daunting at first, but as soon as we sailed with it a few times, we felt very comfortable with it. We had a little bit of a unique path coming to Waypoints and ACY. We bought our boat from another broker. It was pretty much soon after we made our initial deposit. Communications all of a sudden seemed to stop. We were left with a lot of questions and we weren't getting any answers. We were really looking for a different solution, somebody to help us out of the situation, because of course we're very worried. And we did a lot of research, talked to a lot of different charter companies and boat owners and other people who had chartered, and we ended up going with Waypoints just because of the reputation and the care that they took of all their boats, which was the most important to us.
The situation here is definitely not how it's done at all. I've been doing this for over 40 years, and this is the first time this type of situation has come up. Normally we take the boat, we sell the boat, we help equip it through our commissioning process. It's a 1.5 to 2 year marriage, as I like to call it. And then they get the boat and off they sail, but it's a lot of time with the individual owner of speccing and everything. We were pulled in sort of at the last minute to sort of help save the situation, and I think all in all it worked out pretty well.
As soon as ACY took possession of the boat from the other company, the difference was night and day.
The right air conditioning.
That's right. Air conditioning for one, that wasn't even on the boat. Immediate communication. I mean, I think the first thing we did, we got on video conferences with Ken and a whole team at ACY. I went from feeling like an afterthought or really just a person who writes a check to one company to feeling at ACY like I was part of a family and a valued customer. It was a huge, huge difference. And we were very, very thankful given the unique situation that we were in.
I remember getting the call and doing the build out at the Miami show of my hotel room, and then finding out exactly the differences between our builds and their builds was actually quite eye-opening to me.
Yeah.
The way our process goes, there's a lot of checks and balances with the team. If I make a mistake, it's usually caught by Hallie, or it's Eugenie or Ramon over in La Rochelle, but there's checks and balances all the way through, which pretty much ensure you're getting what you want on the boat.
For Ken and his team over there in La Rochelle, not only did they have to deal with what I wanted, they had to deal with fixing a lot of things that were wrong or absent from what I had initially ordered. There were things like air conditioning. First there was no air conditioning, then they had said, well, I guess we're just not going to have air conditioning on your boat, which is obviously it's a big deal for a boat in the Caribbean. The whole electronic suite was entirely different than what we ordered and substandard.
Again, back to our checks and balances, when I saw the pictures, I'm like, that's not the right VHF. I can't put a remote on that VHF, yet it's sitting there. That's got to go, because that's not going to be any good for what they want to use the boat for. We looked at the air conditioning. I'm like, this is not that $25,000 package you paid for it. That's a big deal. So all those things, we caught those right from the first handover from the factory.
When the boat did come to us and we did our handover time with Jevin down in St. Thomas, we took 2 or 3 days and went through every inch of the boat, top to bottom, bow to stern, every system, how it functions, how to maintain it, how to troubleshoot it, and Lisa was right there with it. And so for me, I loved it. I was asking a lot of questions.
Well, I was just a little like starry-eyed with all the information, but I felt like Jevin not only like explained it, would ask me like, do you understand? Do you want me to say that again? Several times I said, can you rephrase that in a way that I could understand?
Yeah, he did a good job. He did a good job explaining it on multiple levels for both of us. And now at the point where, I mean, we're down there, the boat just feels like home. This past year being the first full year, it was actually probably 5 weeks maybe that we were there. Probably about 5 weeks this past year in the first year of ownership for us. And the Waypoints team down there is wonderful. We feel valued, we feel welcomed. If there's ever a problem or an issue, whenever we come back from charter, the first thing they do is they get with us and they say, hey, you know, what happened with the boat? Everything's fine. What needs to be worked on? And they make a list and they address those things. As an owner, that's very comforting. I mean, we've spent a lot of money on this beautiful asset, and it's very important for us to know that it's well taken care of. And we certainly feel that way with Waypoints. 100% I would recommend ACY to anybody considering a purchase. When we were able to partway through, we switched to them. But if we were going to do it again, we would go through ACY. The process, the care, the attention to detail, the organization, the communication, I couldn't imagine it really being any better. I would certainly say to the initial buyer, somebody who hasn't done it before, definitely do research. Find other owners that have been through the process or are going through the process. Take time to have a dinner or have some drinks and go out and really ask a lot of questions, because there is such an incredible amount of information and it can be really daunting. Look at what the reputation of the company is that's going to sell you that boat and commission that boat, and then be there throughout the process through the warranty process if these issues come up, because it's very important.
The other thing I think that I would recommend is to charter. Go out and, like, we chartered probably 3 times before we chose a Fountaine Pajot and being in the Caribbean. Try different boats, try different places so that you can really get a feel for, does your family enjoy this? Is this something that brings you together? It's like our family time, which is a big part of why when we eventually finally bought our own boat, we called it family therapy, because it really was such an important time for us as family. And now we go down every Thanksgiving together as a family. So having family therapy has enabled us to really share our passion with our friends and family.